Politico.com, townhall.com, the Journal of International Security Affairs, and Catholic University Law Review, among others. Mr. Steele is the author of the book Right Now, a call for the return of the core conservative principles and the launching of an uncompromising campaign for limited government. A self-described Lincoln Republican, Mr. Steele earned a place in history in 2003 when he was elected Lieutenant Governor of Maryland, becoming the first African American elected to statewide office in the state. He was also known as an expert in political strategy and election reform. He served as chairman of the GOPAC, a Republican state and local political training organization, and also held a post on the National Federal Election Commission, on the NAACP, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Mr. Steele's experiences as an elected official and his engaging speaking style have launched him into national prominence. He delivered major addresses at the Republican National Convention in 2004 and 2008, where he coined the phrase, "Drill, baby, drill." President George W. Bush elected Steele to be a part of his U.S. delegation in the investiture of Pope Benedict XVI in 2006, and a member of the presidential delegation in the Leon H. Sullivan Summit 8 in Tanzania, also in 2006. Mr. Steele's ability as a communicator and political analyst has been showcased through the roles as a contributor on the Fox News Channel and the regular host of the Salem Radio Network's nationally syndicated Morning in America show. Additionally, Mr. Steele has appeared on Meet the Press and Face the Nation, and is an entertaining and eloquent guest on the cable political talk shows such as HBO's Real Time with Bill Maher, Comedy Central's The Colbert Report, and The Daily Show, without neglecting his own weekly program, Steele and Unigon. He made history a second time in 2009 when he became the chairman of the Republican National Committee and broke fundraising records of over $168 million during the 2010 congressional cycle. Therefore, from his sterling biography, one can now surmise as to why Mr. Steele was aptly afforded the opportunity as our featured speaker. However, it would be remiss of me if I did not say that if we were to embrace some of his teachings, most of us can become just as successful as he is. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to stand. Now please help me welcome with a rousing applause our esteemed featured speaker, Mr. Michael Steele.
That's one way to get a standing ovation. I like it. Please sit down, relax. I guess I stand between you and the party, right? The dancing and the fun? It's all good. Well, we'll have a little fun before we get to the real fun of the evening, but let me begin by saying what an incredible honor it is to be with you this evening. And in a particular way, I'd like to acknowledge and thank Your Excellency, the Governor General, Sir S.W. Tapley Seton, thank you, sir, for your leadership. And also the Dr. Honourable Timothy Harris, Prime Minister. What a wonderful, wonderful leader he is. I've had the particular privilege to sit down and break bread with the Prime Minister and to get to know him a little bit better and to get a sense of the man. And having been in politics for a little bit of time, the one thing that I size up very quickly is the measure of leadership. Leadership is a unique quality that we find in each other. But it's a particular quality we look for and rely on in the men and women who lead us in the various roles and responsibilities inside and outside of government. As I listened to the Prime Minister at dinner last night, I had to make one comment at a certain point to emphasize just what I thought of his leadership. I have a definition that's very simple and straightforward. A leader is someone who's never afraid to lead. Is always prepared to lead. But most especially, he or she is never afraid to follow. And in your leader, in your Prime Minister, I see such a man who appreciates not just the gifts that God gave him to lead you, but also recognizes in each one of you the leadership you bring to this great country. So thank you, Prime Minister, for what you do. You inspire others. If just a point of personal privilege, I would also like to acknowledge and thank my good friend Neil Albert, who is the one responsible for my being here tonight. Neil and I go back a long way, and the Prime Minister had reached out to him, and he reached out to me. And of course, when you get a Prime Minister and your dear friend saying, you got to show up in St. Kitts, I'm like, okay, we're here. So thank you, Neil. Very much appreciate you and the folks at Archipelago Holdings. Thank you so much. So please also allow me to adopt the protocol already established as I begin my remarks. And I will try to keep them brief, but I also want to hopefully explain to you what the hell happened in the United States this past year. I know y'all sitting here all dressed up and looking beautiful, but in your minds you're going, what on earth are those folks thinking over there? Well, the reality of it is what you saw play out in Washington, D.C., and Wisconsin, and Maryland, my home state, Florida, all across the state, was something that you're also very familiar with because we've seen it play out elsewhere around the globe. Not just in 2016, but long before then. As citizens in various countries, various walks of life, have reached the point where they're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the political leadership that has let them down, lied to them, betrayed their dreams. And in a certain hour, at a certain time, in a certain place and moment, they decide they've had enough. Whether it was the Arab Spring, whether it was Brexit, whether it was the Tea Party, which grew under my watch as national chairman of the Republican Party, whether it was Occupy Wall Street. No matter the form and shape, the ideology, perspective of the movement, it reflected an attitude shift, a change in the way people began to look at their government. They began to express more openly and more directly the disappointment in the men and women they had chosen to lead them. And so they began to take action. They said, we'd had enough. And so what you saw over the course of 16 months across America, as we saw across Great Britain earlier in the year, was the end of the old game, the end of the status quo, The end of politicians talking loud and saying nothing. As citizen upon citizen, neighborhood after neighborhood, community after community said enough. We've grown bored. We've grown angry, frustrated. And so they rose up. They rose up. Now, what was interesting about all of this was that the political establishments didn't matter. Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, progressive, didn't matter. Tory, Labor, didn't matter. Media completely missed it. They had no clue what was happening. They had no appreciation of the fact that people could actually rise up and exercise their franchise in a way that they had not before. Recall the polls just before the Brexit vote, where it was supposed to have been a walk away for those who said, keep Great Britain in the EU. All the polls indicated it. The voices you heard and saw on television were saying it. And yet what happened? The people got to vote. And when they did, they showed you a different mind. Same was true in America. Now, unfortunately for us, our process is much more drawn out. I love the way folks do it in Europe. It's like 5 months, election begin and done. 2 years. 2 years of watching, waiting, anticipating, and thinking you know what the outcome was going to be. By every newspaper and television and radio account, Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president of the United States. Oh, I know, that lone clap, yes, sorry. I feel your pain. It was supposed to happen, right? That was the plan. That was the outcome. Someone forgot to tell the people that that's how they should vote. The interesting thing about politics, and it ties into what I was saying about the Prime Minister just a moment ago. You smell out leadership, and you understand and appreciate those people who connect to you most directly. At the end of the day, politics is a very personal game. It's up close, it's in your face. You smell each other, right? You reach out and you can touch them, you can feel them. At least that's what you're supposed to be able to do. When you become detached as an elected official, when you become too big for your britches, as my mama used to tell me, when you assume that election after election, vote after vote, you've got it in your pocket, that's when you've lost. Even though you may win that election. I'm thinking about the former majority leader of the Congress, Eric Cantor, from Virginia, who forgot the people who elected him, who then reminded him when they unseated him as a sitting majority leader. That was the demon, the devil in the details that Hillary Clinton could not overcome. Was that no matter how long her legacy, no matter how many years she had in public life, in this moment, at this hour, the folks were looking for a different relationship. People were expecting something different. If ever there was a change election in America, this election was it. And yet no one believed it. No one saw it. Least of all, the people running for office. It wasn't just Hillary Clinton's problem. It was Jeb Bush's problem, Marco Rubio's problem, Rand Paul's problem. The 15 men and women who stood on that stage opposite Donald Trump didn't get it. But say what you may, And there is a lot to say about Donald Trump. He got it. He got it. He connected with people in the real, up close, in their face, personal. He got players to stop playing the game because he was changing the game. Right in front of their eyes, and there was nothing they could do about it. People scratch their heads and they try to figure out, they said, so how do you start a race for the presidency of the United States? Coming down a golden escalator, walking up to a microphone, and begin to say that you're going to build a wall to keep people out of your country. And that the people who are coming into your country illegally are largely rapists, crooks, and criminals. How can you start a presidential campaign that way? How can you then go on from there and begin to talk about another community of people and say, well, we're going to ban them all because of their religion? How can you go on from there and begin to have conversations that are clearly personal in nature, that deride and are derogatory towards women, and yet, still be competitive, still be close? How does that happen? Well, here's how it happened. The American people at a certain point had baked in a lot about Donald Trump. That whether the folks on the left coast or the right coast, the elites in Washington, New York, LA, were all upset and hair on fire about. They saw that as real. He was speaking the truth. He was speaking their truth. That's how they felt. They felt isolated enough. They felt disconnected enough that he could come into this space and say the very things that just 4 years ago he probably would have been crucified for. That is how frustrated they had become. I was talking with one gentleman who told me about the fact that he was sitting on his couch one night and he was watching television. Donald Trump comes on, and of course there was the replay of the whole idea of, banning Muslims and building a wall, and Rosie O'Donnell is just fill in the blank, and, the whole thing. And he laughed. And I was like, well, why did you laugh at that? He said, because that's how we talk. That's how me and my friends talk. We're honest about stuff. And this politician put it in crass terms because people speak crassly outside of polite circles. We all know it. We've all done it. Don't sit in here and pretend you haven't. But that's the touch that he had. Now, I didn't like it. A lot of us didn't like it because that's not how leaders lead. The idea that you're going to draw people apart is somehow hoping to bring them together. I've yet to really see that work. Because when people are drawn apart and away from you, it takes a great deal to heal them back together. And that is the pressure that this administration faces going into its term in 2 weeks. How do you heal a nation that you have largely spent the last 18 months shredding in various ways? It will be the ultimate test and challenge of the new president. He is, as I've described him, an asymmetrical actor. Playing in, there are a few other A words, I'm sure, but they're playing in a conventional game. He's outside the box. And as someone who, as chairman, was outside the box, was not a status quo figure, did not fit in with the party regulars, I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. I appreciate the leadership that is bold enough, daring enough, brazen enough, unafraid enough to step into that space and try something different, to push the envelope, to push the status quo, to push the party, to push people, to push a country in a different direction. But that direction matters. As you heard from your Prime Minister tonight, the vision, coupled with the effort, inspires you to unify around principles and ideas that will allow you each to have a hand in the growth of this great community. At least that's how it's supposed to be on paper, right? But the practical reality, as we've seen in this election, is something different. Voters, activists, citizens are in a different space now. And it will take and require leaders who appreciate this new space, but most especially don't succumb to its baser intents and moments. That's the challenge. And so as an asymmetrical player, Donald Trump was able to rewrite the rules. You want to see his tax returns? Good luck. Won't happen. Disentangle from his global enterprises? Won't happen. Changing the rules. The relationship with the United States has between itself and its partners around the globe also is changing and will change. And we've already begun to see some of those little moments that will be interesting down the road, from the phone call with the newly elected president of Taiwan to his remarks just this week about Russia and the hacking, to our relationship with Israel. All of these things are being put into a grinder. A political, diplomatic, economic, social grinder. And I have no clue how it all is going to taste when it's done. And I think a lot of us don't. But there are a lot of us who will be and have to remain involved in this process to make sure that it tastes right. And so there are those of us who, despite our disagreements with the incoming administration, particularly in the way it addresses certain policy and other issues, plan to sort of be there as sort of a guiding force to sort of help and push and shape and move things, hopefully in a direction that, while yes, at times may upset the apple cart, and I'm okay with that, but you still have to pick the apples up. You still have to brush them off, because we need them. And so the reality for the United States and the world right now is that on January 21st, 2017, nothing will be the same. Sorry. It just won't. And I think in a real way we all kind of understand that. Don't know how many people appreciate it. I have a lot of friends who I call and talk to when I visit with them when I'm in New York, or if I'm out in LA, Florida. It turns much more into like a counseling session. You know, they're kind of sprawled out on the floor going, why, how, oh. But what I say to them, and I'll say to you, is if you understand the why of what happened, then you'll understand how to deal with it. If you understand the why of this Prime Minister's election, which I assume you do, then you certainly appreciate the how of what he and his administration have been able to do. The same is true for us. Understanding the how a Donald Trump beats 15 well-qualified individuals in a primary, governors, senators, candidates who'd run for the office before, beat a former senator, first lady, and Secretary of State, and managed to do it in a way in which, despite all the ugly, all the racism, all the xenophobia, all the misogyny, was able to win an election. You have to understand the why. And the why rests in one place as far as I can see, and that is the people. And to help you understand that, I'll share with you a conversation that occurred in a focus group in October of 2015. So this was before the first ballots had been cast in January. This was before the first debate had taken place. A focus group in New Hampshire was done. It means, and as frustrating as it is for people, and as angered as they may be, it's not changing the why. And the why for that woman, and the why for those who voted for him, was very straightforward and simple. He's a fighter. I don't like what he said about X, but. And throughout the campaign, I would say to people, until people put a period after the sentence, I don't like, I resent, I hate that he said, as long as there's a comma and a but, he's going to win. Because he's connected with people in a way that's real for them. And as much as you may hate it and you may not like it, for that person it is real. When you refer to the Trump voters in the campaign as deplorables, when you refer to them as illiterate and stupid, let me ask you, if I referred to you as deplorable, if I referred to you as stupid, what would you think of me if I would then say, hey, would you vote for me? What would you say if I said, I've got a plan to make your life better, you deplorable you? What would you say if I said, follow me and I will change the way this country responds to your community and benefits your community? You stupid person, you. People don't react, people don't respond to that kind of messaging. We saw that flare up in the 2008 campaign when President Obama referred to certain folks in Pennsylvania as just longing for their God and their guns. That was another brick in that wall, taken out by the voters. And at a certain point, the wall falls. So understanding the why of this election, whether it's Brexit, whether it's what happened in America, whether it's the next elections that are going to happen here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Understanding the why is the work of every citizen, and is especially the work of those politicians in the room who think they know what they think they know. Because I'm here to tell you, you don't. This environment is different. This environment is also dangerous because there are world actors out there who are prepared to take advantage of this anger that we see. And we're going through this drama now. We just had hearings in Washington, D.C. yesterday where the Congress is looking into the role of Russia in our elections. And that drama is going to play out even more so. But again, in all of that, no one is getting to the why. So as we get ready for the rest of 2017, I am hopeful, as I've said publicly on air, in my network at MSNBC, as I've written, that I want my president to be successful. Because his success is our success as a nation. I said the same thing about Barack Obama, and I said that as chairman of the Republican Party, so you can imagine how many people I've pissed off. But it is important that in these times and at this hour, as you have done and are doing here under the leadership of your Prime Minister, that we come together, that we unify, regardless of where we are politically, regardless of what we believe ideologically, because there is a common purpose and there is a common goal, and it is the betterment of all people. No one gets up in the morning and says, well, all I want to be today is poor. So why do we expect the poor to do that? So we need to respond. No one gets up in the morning and says, all I want to be today is stupid. So we need to educate. No one gets up in the morning and says, all I want to do is just go out and be broken and not do anything. We all aspire to something. And it will require leaders to bring that out in the community of people. So God bless you in the work you're doing, Prime Minister. God bless you in the work you allow him to do. Keep him honest. Just as we intend to keep Donald Trump honest. Although we may have a harder time than you. Maybe a lot harder. But it is an opportunity. It is an opportunity. And it is one that I intend to take advantage of in helping my president be successful, despite the stuff that drives me crazy about him, especially the tweeting. I remember telling him once, don't do that anymore. And he just laughed. I should have known. I wasn't going to go anywhere. But we have a great work to do as people, and I think that the people of this nation, the people of my nation, we have an opportunity in front of us, and we should be grateful for the leadership that we have to get us there, no matter how crazy it is at times. God bless you all. Thank you for the opportunity to come down and share a few thoughts with you. Appreciate you very much. Take care.
Mr. Steele, please. Mr. Steele, we have a little presentation.